Hello everyone, I'm Indra Bartona and welcome to the show. Today I'm interviewing Erman Baradi, a filmmaker and writer originally from Virginia Beach that now resides here in Los Angeles. In 2016, the Huffington Post featured Erman as a top Hollywood networker due to his entertainment industry events. So let's welcome Erman to the show. Welcome, Erman.
What up, folks? This is going to be a fun time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I skipped church for this today, so this is going to be a fun time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, this is awesome.
Don't tell my church leaders, but...
We'll keep that under wraps.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, I want to start at the beginning, and I want to understand, how did you get into being a Hollywood networker and putting together all these amazing events?
Something I like to tell people is that I did it out of necessity. So I'm from Virginia Beach, as you mentioned, which is across the United States, right? So if you draw a line from LA to Virginia Beach, it's not necessarily a straight line, but like a 45, right? It's literally across the country. And so for me, when I started off, it was, how do I get connected to these industry names? How do I get on the radar? Because a lot of writers, I'm a screenwriter, by the way. So a lot of writers, they try to find a way into the industry, but they don't know how to get on people's radars because there's so many of us, right? If I was to email an executive, hey, I'm a writer, please read my work, they get millions of that a day, right? So I just find a way to stick out. So I started producing events as a way to get on the radar, not coming from the perspective of the writer, but as just someone who wants to meet them and feature them at my events, right? So that was my way in. Once they get to know what I do, and if they like it, then I'd be like, hey, so I'm a creative. Let's stay in touch, Mm-hmm. So that was my way in.
Right.
And it was also a way to get others going. So it's just not about my career, but about other people connecting to not just executives, but to fellow attendees. Because a lot of people, here's what people take away from my events. Yeah, they meet executives and maybe they exchange information. Cool. But it's more about the people that they sit next to, right? Those are the collaborators. Those are the people that come up with them, right? So that's the cool part of what I do.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so, this sounded I know I've met you at other events and quite a few years ago, and then you've built everything up since then. So how do you, stay positive, and how do you just keep going? Because it was sort of humble beginnings, you know. And from humble beginnings to now, where you have the vibe going, everything is, on track. How do you keep going?
I think a lot of it is mentality. I know it's harder. It's easier said than done living in LA, but half my time in LA has been on the couch, So for 4 years, split that in half, it's been on the couch. And it has to do with mentality. Even when I started off trying to figure out what I want to do, because actually, before writing, my ideal career was to be an actor. I wanted to perform, right? Because in middle school, high school, that was a fun thing to do, skits in class. But, being realistic about the industry, I'm Asian, I'm Filipino, so there's a tendency not to have roles for us, right? I can't control my height. I'm not how most action stars are 6'5" or whatever. I can't control that. What I can control is my output. I can't control my input, but I can control my output. This is what I was given, but my personality and the way I look at things is what I can put out, right?
So you're working with what you have and being positive with what you have, making the most of it.
Exactly, working with what I got. This is what God gave me, but I can put out good energy, good vibes, and just good mentality. So, there are a lot of things that happen to us in our lives that we can't control. And so, like you said, it's about what we can control.
Yes,
yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. And so tell me a little bit more about I'd love to know about the film empire.
Yes, ma'am.
And I'm sure everybody else would too.
Yeah. So I have two brands. One of them is the Film Empire, which I co-founded with my friend Brandon. And then I have Entourage, which I think we're going to talk about next. But the Film Empire is an organization that I co-founded where we connect filmmakers and actors, sometimes musicians even, like composers, to mentors in the industry. Because it is about mentorship, about connections, right? So there are a lot of contests out there that give you grand prizes of cash which is great because everyone needs cash to make it through the month to pay
Yeah.
rent. We all do.
We do.
What we like to do in addition to that, or separate from that, is to put people in the same room as executive producers, directors, that kind of thing. Just that interaction, right? For mentorship, to make a connection, right? Because like people say, it's about who you know
Yes.
in this industry. So you can be the most talented person ever, but no one will know if you're not connected to people. So we like to kind of break that wall down, connect people with industry names.
That's awesome. I love that concept.
Yeah, yeah.
And what would you say, is the secret behind your success? Is it in one particular box? Would you say it's your mindset, or would you say it's spirituality, both? Where do you
It's funny you
sit
say
in
that.
little-
It's funny you mention that because I do believe it has to do with mindset and spirituality, because what does it mean to be successful? The way you define it may be different from how I define it. The way the world defines it may be different from how I define it, So I didn't make 6 figures last year or this year, but that doesn't mean to me that I'm not successful.
Exactly. Yeah, because success is defined so differently for different people.
Exactly.
It's our experience, and abundance is really in our hearts and in our minds. We could be abundant sitting here, sipping on our iced tea, and feel abundance. So it's
Absolutely.
an internal, intrinsic feeling, right?
Because this is gonna be a fun part of the conversation. So even years ago, being 20s in Hollywood, being 20s in LA, like men in my age group chase certain things that aren't necessarily for the future of our success, right? Like, for example, chasing women, something like that. Like, back in the day, I'd be one of those guys who were like, because you mentioned abundance, right?
Right.
I'd be one of those guys who was like, oh, I can't get this girl? Man, that's it for me. Like, there's no one else out there. Like, as if there's no one else out there. But more, I forgot the exact terminology, but the whole abundance thing, right? Mm-hmm. Just knowing that there's more out there, knowing that there's more opportunities out there.
It's infinite.
It's infinite.
The opportunities and things that we want are actually infinite in that mindset space.
Exactly.
You're talking about.
Mindset, yeah.
Yes.
Because,
right?
abundance mindset, I think is what they call it.
Abundance mindset.
A girl gets away from me, an opportunity gets away from me, a gig gets away from me. Hey, there's more out there.
Exactly. There is more. And the thing is that with a positive mindset, I'm sure you're attracting opportunities as well.
Yeah.
Whether it be a date, whether it be, a business opportunity.
Got me a date after this? No, I'm kidding.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Oh, thank you.
But yeah, no, it's all about the mindset and the connection. And then also realizing that, as you mentioned, the spirituality, that there is a higher power beyond us, whatever. I mean, everybody has different beliefs, and depending if you think it's, a higher power, the universe, God, a particular God, there is something beyond us.
Right, absolutely. Yeah. And that's how I like to think about it when it comes to opportunities. Not just like we're talking spiritual or religious. Like, of course, I believe there's an afterlife because, as you mentioned earlier, I go to church. But like, just that mindset of opportunities, more out there, And I think that's why I'm not like into the whole like, when I'm successful, I want to get this car or that house. Like, I just want to like travel the world and eat. That's my success. That's how I feel like I'll be successful, when I can just do that, right? So if I get $1 million, that's cool.
Freedom. It's about freedom.
Yeah.
Freedom to do what you want.
Exactly.
Freedom of mindset. Not necessarily material things.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I'm picking up from you. It's not necessarily, I'm going to have, 20 cars, 2 motorbikes.
Yeah. Because for me, when that time comes when I get an Oscar, my life doesn't end there. There's more to that Oscar, or there's more beyond that Oscar,
Right.
More beyond that Emmy.
Right.
When it happens. Eventually, at some point. But there's more to that. And that's why I feel like material things don't weigh me down, because I feel like when you own something, it owns you, right?
Attachment.
So
you get attached to things, and it sounds like you're practicing detachment.
Exactly, because like you mentioned the Oscar. When I get that trophy, it's not about the trophy. The trophy can be destroyed, and I'll still be happy because I'm not attached to that trophy.
Right.
I'm attached to the opportunities that come after getting a trophy.
And you've still got the goals, and you're still working towards everything, and you're always very motivated towards those things. But that's not just the end thing. You're working. What I pick up from you, Erman, is that you're working on your current state of mind, and you're enjoying everything.
Absolutely.
Rather than, when I get that, it's going to be amazing. You know, it's already amazing now.
Yeah.
So then it's almost like a lot of people that they're already thankful for what they have now, and conscious of what they have now. And so then when it's just going to be a matter of time before those other successes arrive. I mean, you've been building and building and building since you've been here in Hollywood, and that's amazing, you know. But you've stayed so humble. It's just
Well, see, for me, is no matter where I am in life, I'm a lot farther than where I could be. So no matter what stage I am, that's the mentality.
Yes.
You know, right now, I don't have. I like at this point in time, I've never sold a feature in my life. I've never sold that big script yet. It will happen in the future, but it hasn't happened yet, right?
Yes, right.
But I'm a lot farther than where I could be, and that's the mentality I have, no matter where I am.
Now, the Entourage.
Entourage. Yeah.
It's tomatoes. The Entourage. Did I get that
Close
right?
enough. Entourage.
Entourage.
So think of the show Entourage
Okay.
with my name in it. So Entourage.
Let's take that again. Okay, so the Entourage.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, this is a fun name. It reminds me of the Entourage.
Exactly.
So let's tell everybody about this
Yeah.
and how it all works and how did you get inspired to create this?
For sure. So I wanted to create a personal brand that sounded Hollywood. So when you see it, you kind of get a sense of, oh, that's what it's about. So Entourage, when you think of Entourage, you think of Hollywood, you think of like industry stuff, right? Add my name in there, perfect marketing from Entourage.
And the networking facet as well.
Yes, exactly.
Because you think of Entourage as in all these different people, and I love it.
Yeah, so it's like
clever.
It's like join the Entourage, you know. So what I do with that is my personal brand. So when I host events, this specific brand, we try to tie it in with some type of cause or nonprofit. So we've done the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention LA in the past. We've done Beyond Freedom, which tackles human trafficking. Recently, we've done Inner City Arts LA, which is a nonprofit near Skid Row for kids in the arts in LA.
Amazing.
Oh yeah. So I mean, we're not raising millions and millions of dollars because I'm not up there yet, right? But what we do is at least we spotlight these causes and we give what we can to them.
Right.
Yeah. So that's what I like to do with our Entourage.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
What a wonderful platform and a fun platform as well. If anybody's attended any of these
Yeah, no, it's
fun
fun.
events,
Yeah.
it's fun, but at the same time, there's a cause behind it, which is just, it's really inspiring.
Yeah. We like to do things that are super laid back and chill, just like we're doing right now. Us communicating and interacting with special guests in the industry, but then like we have a drink afterwards. Super chill, laid back. We like to keep our environments stress-free so that you can interact with people, like I said earlier, collaborators or executives in a super low stress environment.
That's amazing. Yeah. Fun, and it's still fruitful.
Yeah.
There's a purpose.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Love it. So, Erman, I wanted to touch on, when did this writing and the filmmaking facet sort of, really spike your interest? Because I'm picking up from just having a chat with you earlier that there's quite a passion for you with this.
Yeah, so growing up, I was always, not inspired per se, but yeah, inspired, but I was always into storytelling, right? So a story I like to tell to a lot of people who interview me is back in middle school. I guess that was when I got the creative bug. Kind of going back 20 years, not to date myself, but going back 20 years when I started, when I was in 6th grade, that was when I realized that I was more on the creative side than academic. So I would spend my time more so writing stories in my notebooks instead of math equations or science equations. My notebooks were full of quotes that I created in my head, characters, even like storylines. Like it would be on my notebooks that were intended for other classes. And so that was when it happened. And something I like to tell everybody is, like, I remember back then, like, there weren't that many Asian Americans on TV. So I thought, like, why take theater? I should just do something else, right? So I pursued writing, and that was something that I did throughout my middle school, high school careers. I eventually came across teachers, like every single year in English, my teachers loved my writing. And they were like, you may not have the best understanding of grammar or structure or whatever, but it from the creative standpoint, they loved it, right? Every single year, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th grade. Every single year. And my teacher in 10th grade, Miss Schwartz, we did a skit for the end of the year, and we had to perform it. Mind you, I was super nervous, so I couldn't remember anything that happened during the skit. But after the skit, she was like, hey guys, listen to this. I'm telling you right now, someday Erman's gonna host SNL, because the great writing, great acting.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm like, cool. It never hasn't happened yet. But that moment stuck out to me because it was like a pivotal moment where it's like, oh, like someone had faith in what I do. Okay, cool. Let me pursue this. So eventually I told my parents, hey, I want to go to film school. I don't want to go to medical school, which was the track originally. Hey, I'm Filipino.
Right.
And they're super cool about it. They're super chill. So I was like, yeah, that's awesome. I got their support early on.
Awesome.
Yeah. So I did film school. Did the 4 years. As they say, you got to be in Hollywood or LA to actually get the full knowledge of how things work. So not to crap on the film school I went to, but it was tiny, it was local, so it wasn't the best education. And it was new. The program was new, so I didn't get, they were still trying to find their footing. So right. I didn't get the best education in those 4 years, but I got the paper. I walked away with the diploma, so that's what mattered. So I utilized that diploma to get an internship in Hollywood when I started to learn the real things, how things happen behind the scenes, because it's different from what you learn in film school to actually being in the scene. Always. Yeah.
In the real world, everything is like
that. So I'm like, wow, I didn't learn any of this. What is this? What's going on here? But it's just snowballing, taking this to get to that, to get to this, right? And then, so I was always passionate about writing. But as you know, the last decade or so was more about networking, finding the right people in my circle, getting on people's radars. So it's taken forever, but now, moving to 2022, I'm going to be working on a lot more content with people that I met along the way. So my own writing, helping produce other people's writing, short form content, long form content, a mixture of both. Right. I'm just happy to be a part of it. So moving ahead, there's going to be a lot of creative stuff coming out on my end.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's taken 10 years, but like I said, it's
it's a process.
It is a process because a lot of people, and everyone has a different route. A lot of people start with content first, then try to find the right people to get on the radar of. For me, it was the opposite. I want to get to know people first, have the industry know me first, then start creating content. So that when I have something in the can, I can be like, hey, executive producer, hey, studio head, check out what we did.
Yes.
So that was my path.
Very cool. And that's ultra exciting.
Yeah.
Now, Erman, I mean, everything about you is really, really positive. And I would just love you to give your best advice. Say if you had to talk to yourself and, you were like a teenager, a much younger version of yourself, what kind of advice would you give yourself, to stay on track, to be positive and based on your experience of being positive?
I would like to quote my friend, actually. She is a talent manager in LA, and her name's Kanika, and she represents a lot of really great TV actors. And this happened 3 years ago because I was 28, already looking at not just 29, but looking at 30 and going, hey, how come I know all these people in the industry? How come my career hasn't really kicked off yet, right? So I was kind of like, I felt like I was wasting potential. How do you know so many people, but nothing's really going on for you? And then I was going through this really, not dark time, but I was like, oh man, nothing's happening. So my friend Kanika, she had a conversation with me. She goes, and this is something that sticks to me to this day, and I tell people this all the time, and they're like, oh, this makes sense. She goes, do you truly believe that you'll find success in the industry? Yeah. Do you truly believe you'll make it? Yeah. She says to me, okay, then why does it matter what age? Because growing up, we were always taught, like, by this age, you had to be this. Like, you had to be this certain way. Like, by 30, you have to be married with kids, with a white picket fence and a house, and your career, like, salary.
Right.
And she's telling me, like, if you truly believe you'll make it in the industry, why does it matter what year or what age it happens, right? It could be 30, it could be 31, it could be 32. God forbid it's 40. But hypothetically speaking, say that it did happen at 40 and not 32, because I'm turning 32 soon. Say that happened at 40, not 32. You can, when it happens, you can laugh at the years before.
And it's your time.
Exactly.
It's your time for that opportunity.
Exactly.
And I love that idea of not putting limitations on yourself, because I think we do as humans, we're just guilty of, and I've been guilty of putting, okay, I'm going to put a time limit on this, and it can hold yourself back.
Exactly.
Because then you're disappointed because, well, hang on, that milestone has happened and I haven't achieved X, Y, or Z at that point.
Yeah.
So I love that concept of just, it's almost like just going with the flow, doing what you have to do, aiming towards your goals, and still keeping positive and keeping that mindset of just free flowing and following the flow, I guess. Yeah,
because I think what holds us back a lot is that we keep our eyes on a number. We keep our eyes on an age. We keep our eyes on a year rather than the goal itself. So just keep your eyes on the goal itself and not when it happens, and you'll be happy.
And keep positive about all those things and not worry. Like, don't worry about because I haven't got there.
Yeah.
Just keep your eye on the prize. Yeah. Stay positive and focused, and that's amazing.
When it happens, when it happens, I'll be like, oh, remember all those times that I stayed up at night trying to figure out how to pay rent, all those tears that I wasted, like, at 12 p.m. or 12 a.m.
Yes.
All that stuff won't matter when it happens, because I know it will happen.
Because you're working steadily towards that as a goal.
Yep.
And a positive mindset, detached from material things.
From material things,
I love it. And what a great way to end this interview.
Yeah, exactly.
On such a positive note.
Yeah.
It's been wonderful having you on the show,
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for your time. And if anybody would love to find Erman, I'll put all of Erman's links below this video, so you'll be able to track him down, find him on all social media, track him, hunt him, everything down. Join his wonderful Hollywood networking events. And so I'll have a show for you really soon. Don't forget to like, subscribe this show, write some comments. And I am sending you love, light, and blessings.